I was a troop commander and I was in transport corps, so basically we're training drivers, it's a bit louder, training drivers, and as they say, they're all trained as soldiers first, so there was a fair bit of training in the peacetime army which kept us busy. And thanks, Doug, for that recognition. There's a lot of servicemen in town, a lot of that have been overseas to Afghanistan and places like that, Timor. And I'm a veterans advocate. I work with different veterans and try and link them into DVA and get their white cards and recognise their service. So that's part of what I do. Now what we've organised today for the open mic as a first open mic back from lockdown to get out of the house and have a bit of fun. Now we asked Johnny Lovett if we could borrow his PA, and as you're aware, a lot of Johnny Lovett's family's here today, and I know Johnny's been fighting for recognition for his family's service in World War II, and part of my responsibilities as a veterans advocate is to present quilts of valour to veterans and their families. I'll have to have a break for a sec now. So it's an honour and a privilege to be able to do that. Duck put in a request for a quilt, and we sort of snagged Johnny to come along to borrow his PA. But it's not just about that, Johnny. I'd like to make a presentation here on behalf of Quilts of Valour. I'd like you to come up, John.
Please, Johnny. Thank you. Johnny, come and stand in here, mate.
We've got this lovely quilt made by the ladies down in Melbourne, and basically we find the soldiers or veterans and their families, their sons, their daughters, their families, to recognise their service. Now this one's definitely a special quilt. We've got a certificate and a letter to read out. I won't muck around. What we normally do is we wrap the veteran or the veteran's family in the quilt.
Let's do that.
Johnny, are you okay at the moment?
Yeah.
Yep.
Who would you like to come up, Uncle Johnny?
Laura.
And this is to recognise Johnny's family's service in World War II.
Can I just quickly say something? Because when Uncle Johnny's family come home, they couldn't march in the Anzac Day marches. They couldn't go to the RSL. They couldn't have a drink with their mates. And I'm sorry, but that's damn wrong. Good on you, my auntie.
Do you want to wrap this around Johnny and
Do you want to put it around that way? Yes.
Yep, go that way.
I'll go this way.
Wrap it around. Yep.
You hold that there.
Oh, that'll do, Mum. Alright. Dear Johnny and the Lovett family, on behalf of Quilts of Valour Australia, we award this quilt to you to acknowledge the valour, service and sacrifice of your family for our country. The quilt has been made with love for you from other Australians to wrap you in warmth and care. The top of the quilt, with its many colours, shapes and fabrics, represents the communities and the many individuals we are. The wadding, the filler, is the centre of the quilt. Its warmth, it represents our hope that this quilt will bring warmth, comfort, peace and healing to you and your family. The backing is the strength that supports the other layers. It represents your strength, the support of communities and our nation. Each stitch that holds the layers together represents love, gratitude and sometimes tears of the maker. Best wishes and prayers, Win Raper, President of Quilts of Valour.
Thanks, mate. Okay, now looking this way. Matt, come in a bit closer, and all three of you looking this way, please. 1, 2, one more, guys. Thank you.
And I'll just read the quilt out. Quilts of Valour Australia award this quilt to Johnny Lovett and his family in recognition of the service, sacrifice and valour for Australia by the Lovett family.
Johnny, can we get a shot of that spread out with you and is it please?
All right. Yeah. Oh, that is just a gorgeous quilt.
Just to the other edge a bit,
Do you want to
Johnny.
come on?
Yeah, you come and hold it there, Johnny. That's
Mike's in the way, but you know Mike, don't you?
I know, Mike. Friend associated.
the mic's no longer in the way.
Thanks, G. Just up,
There we go.
up in the air for Collingwood.
Come on. Okay, hold it up, guys. Looking this way. Auntie, uncle, there we go. 1, 2, 3. Go,
Hang on,
go.
my phone. Hang on, I'll get you back.
Someone's ringing you.
Lovely. That is fantastic, folks. Unbelievable. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
No, wait a minute. I'll get it down.
I didn't want to get up on tiptoes. I tell you what, this is a bit singer. Where's Simon for this mic?
The mic's a bit. Here,
Simon.
Johnny.
Yeah, look,
That's better.
I tell you something, it's not too many times that I'm sort of lost for words, but gee, I tell you what, today, I had no idea at all. I did not have any idea at all until now,
sneaky.
right this minute.
We were sneaky.
Yes, we're very sneaky. So they conned me up by saying that they wanted to lend me gear,
And you.
and then come down to sing a song, and I thought, well, yeah, I could do that. So it's such a great thing. Laura and I and my sister, we're the last grandchildren of Hannah and James Lovett from the 1800s, 1854, 55 era. Our fathers were brothers. They were the only 4 men. Uncle Freddie, Dad and another 2 brothers, they were the only 4 men in the whole of the British Empire to serve in 2 world wars at once. There was 24 Lovets from the First World War right through to Afghanistan. So we had a fairly big input into the defence of this country, and I'm not trying to lay guilt trips on anyone, but they were treated pretty poorly. And the land that they lived on at Lake Condamishn was cut up, and no Aboriginal returned soldiers got it. It was given away to all non-Aboriginal soldiers. And I don't hold it against anyone who's got it, but I certainly hold it against the government of the day and the government from now, and I'll hold it until the day I die. And they treated my father and Laura's father when they came back, and they weren't just peeling potatoes in army camps at Laura's father was a light horseman, my father was a machine gunner in the First World War on the Western Front, and they fought in Gallipoli, Passchendaele, Beersheba, and they fought the big battles. They fought every major conflict that the British Army scene was involved in, and they are the only 4 men in the whole of the British Empire to serve in 2 world wars. I met up with in Canberra with Warren Snowden, who was a Veterans Minister of Aboriginal Affairs, and I said to him, if our fathers were white, and this is no reflection on anyone here, I said, if our fathers were white, they would be standing out the front of the War Museum here in Canberra where Simpson and his donkey is. I said, but because when they came home they were back to being black. And that's the way it was. And the sooner that we can sort of put all this rubbish aside, and we get a lot of digs at us on NAIDOC week and say, well, why don't you just forget about it? Well, why don't they forget about Anzac Day? And stuff like that, So maybe one day, and I've already approached the Minister of Education, which is Dan Teen. Don't laugh, everyone. And I said that the education curriculum needs to really be put in place and be taught. I sat up in school and was told Captain Cook discovered Australia, when I was going to school. One of my cousins wanted to be a policeman. He was told by the teacher of the day, you can't be because you're Aboriginal. You can't be yeah. So that was the mentality of the teachers that were teaching at the time, and it won't get any better unless the education system really puts the pressure on who was ever delivering Aboriginal studies or teachings in the curriculum through the education department. They have to do it with sincerity, and they owe it not only to us as Aboriginal people, they owe it to you as well, because they have totally wiped that history out of white settlement in 1788, and it's caused racism amongst people. But I would just like to say, that last Australia Day, this gentleman standing in front of me with the camera here closed his pub because he didn't want his pub open on Australia Day. And we had a big show, Pete? We put on a show. The Aboriginal flag was flying out in the pub, and there was people all over the pub, and they were really enjoying themselves, and it was a great night. And I thank this man for that. And gee whiz, I got to thank a couple of people today, but sneaky. He wasn't as sneaky as what yous were.
Oh yeah. I've got to admit, I've got to say something. There was one other sneaky person that really assisted me in getting your family here, and that's Auntie Claudette. And I want to thank her. That's how Uncle Johnny was here earlier, and everyone walked in from Warrnambool. He goes, "Oh wow, my family's here." He was so surprised, and that way I knew the secret hadn't got out. When I heard him say that, I knew we'd kept the secret to make this great surprise. Thanks, Uncle Johnny.
And look, I might do a song that I wrote. Yeah, we'll do a Merle Haggard too. That I wrote many years ago. All right. And I wrote this many years ago, and I don't know whether people are aware of the Maralinga issues, and they were dropping bombs in Aboriginal countries in 1956 to 63, and people were dying out on the desert. I wrote a song 45 years ago called Maralinga. I took it back to those people 6 years ago and found the people that the song I needed to give it to, and we done that, and then we went into Port Augusta Army Warra radio station, and we recorded it in language. And I didn't sing language, of course, but yeah, that's it. Yeah. So we done that, and my partner today is Joanne over here, and she's a Western Desert woman. She speaks two different languages from the Western Desert and APY lands and Central Desert, yeah. So I reckon that I'd like to show my appreciation to you people here today, and it's a great thing for us to share this with you as well. And I'm going to do the song Maralinga, and I'm hoping Joanne will come up and do it in language. You're right. We're ready for you, Uncle.
Oh, it's all finished.
Good clue. Yeah. Sorry? Good clue. Oh, yeah. Yeah, my hands getting all shaky. But I thought that was a good time to break. But like unfortunately, it's gone from that song through that as well because there was no break.
You're right, Joe. This is Joanne Walker. Joanne's from Central Australia, and yeah, it's. I'm glad she's agreed to do this song. All right. Yeah. Look. There's nothing like a bit of music to bridge the gaps in a lot of things. You know.
They haven't found anyone because they haven't been testing thought they're not going to get
This is a song that we wrote many years ago, and we took it back to these people. Can I have your attention, please? Excuse me. Hey, you rowdy ones over there in the corner. You couldn't hit your Mara mob, just behave yourself. I tell you what, I haven't gotten over that. Just what happened just now. It's unreal.
I can only just close
Unreal. Anyhow.
Trust me,
Is that too high?
I do know how to work
Might down a bit. Maralinga is a desert place of red and arid sands, where people from the dreamtime wandered on their land. Now the land is not a fitting place for any living man, so they'll give it back to the blacks and let them do the best they can. The blast that killed the natural foods and poisoned all the grass. The presentation of this land is just a government farce. The land is not a feeding place for any living man, so they'll give it back to the blacks and let them do the best they can. take place of written everything, where people from the dream time wandered on their lanes. The land is not a fitting place for any living man, so they'll give it back to the blacks and let them do the best they can. Thank you very much. Thank you. So that's sharing a little bit of culture with you guys today, and hope you appreciate it and hope you like it. We certainly like doing it.